Developing tonight, thousands of immigrant families at the border that have been separated have become the center of an intense political fight.
As their futures are being debated, there's also an argument over who can solve it. Is it up to the president or Congress?
Our chief political correspondent, Scott Thuman, joins us live from Washington, D.C. to sort it all out.
Yeah, Brent and Natalie, just about an hour ago, President Trump arrived here on Capitol Hill. As we sort through all of these different options that are being discussed, he's meeting with House Republican leaders, not Democrats, not a combination, just Republicans, but they're looking at what options exist. A lot of moving parts here on Capitol Hill to keep an eye on. As more immigrants pile into holding centers with uncertain futures and many times separated from their children, a high-intensity fight brewing across the country and, of course, in Washington over who can fix it.
If the Democrats would sit down instead of obstructing, we could have something done very quickly.
Senator, the president seems to be putting it in your court, asking for Congress to be the ones to make a decision.
Well, that's just a load of crap. I mean, really, it's just wrong.
6 weeks ago, this didn't exist. The president has created this problem. He can take care of this problem with one phone call.
But if he refuses to act, if he puts it in your court, how quickly could you do something?
Pass legislation that he would sign and not veto? Who knows? That could take months.
Here in the halls of Congress, a debate over just whose responsibility it is to come up with a solution.
It is in Congress's court, and we are working to come up with a solution to keep families together.
While Republicans like Lindsey Graham concede the president could immediately alter policy, he says it doesn't fix the larger problem.
10,000 of the 12,000 are unaccompanied minors, and we got a really weird law that there's no place to send these kids back because they're not from Mexico. I'd like to address that.
In the meantime, Senator Cruz has one proposal gaining traction that would pay for more immigration judges, new shelters for migrant families, and speed the processing of asylum cases, essentially requiring most families be kept together.
Paul Ryan could do something right now to put an end to this. He's got a majority.
You have confidence that may happen?
No, I have no confidence that's going to happen. This is a low moment for our country.
Coincidentally, there were already 2 scheduled debates and possible votes on the House floor regarding immigration. There's now potentially a third just in the past few hours. Democrats Steny Hoyer and Jerry Nadler introduced and co-sponsored a bill called the Keep Families Together Act. They're pushing for Speaker Ryan to bring it up for a possible vote. So we're watching very closely all of these developments here on Capitol Hill, and the president set to be here perhaps for another half hour as he has talks with Republicans. Back to you.
So, Scott, who is more likely to act in this case, the president or Congress?
It's a good question. Listen, the president had an event just a few blocks from here this afternoon. He doubled down. He continued to insist that this is something that Congress should tackle, that he's just quote unquote enforcing the law. And as a result, it will be up to members to come up with some sort of bipartisan movement forward. Will that happen? There does seem to be an appetite for one. But what's frustrating many of them is they know how slow it takes sometimes to enact change here on Capitol Hill. And you heard Dick Durbin tell me, in theory, it could take months.
So, Scott, are you seeing any bipartisanship on the Hill over this crisis?
Yeah, there is an appetite for that. I think everyone we talked to today said they're very displeased by the images and the stories that are being relayed to them, so they do want to act. You heard, I think, Lindsey Graham telling me he was working with Senator Collins. Ted Cruz was saying he hoped to get Democrats on board with his plan. So they are reaching across the aisle. But the devil's always in the details. It is, though, however, one of those rare instances where we're seeing Republicans and Democrats not opposing, coming together. Really, a lot of the fight is between them and what's happening down the street on Pennsylvania Avenue at the White House.
Scott, thank you. Scott Thuman reporting live from Washington, D.C. Now let's go back to our national question of the day. Whose responsibility is it to solve the U.S. border situation? Congress or the president? Head to idahonews.com to vote.